Hey, welcome back to our Achievement Hunter series, aimed at burning through the Barrens gameplay achievements. We slammed our way through the Warrior achievements last time, and this time there are 3 Warlock achievements ready to sacrifice themselves for our cause. Let's get into it.
This should be interesting.
For today's video, we're covering the following 3 Warlock achievements. Shadow of a Shadow, to cast 80 zero-cost Warlock shadow spells. What's better than 2 Imps? Ultimately requiring us to summon 250 Imps. And discard Inferno, demanding that 3 legendary cards be sacrificed to a single altar of fire. Since none of these requires that we win games to complete, we can take unusual approaches to completing these when it makes things more interesting or efficient. As with all these guides, there are timestamps for each achievement and deck codes for each deck mentioned in the description below if you'd like to skip to one you're looking for. Let's begin by knocking out the achievement that requires the least amount of effort, as long as you have a copy of Altar of Fire. Discard Inferno. Since this just requires that we destroy any 3 legendary cards and doesn't specify that they have to be from the opponent, if you have a sufficiently large collection, you can build an all legendary deck aside from Altar of Fire to complete this one extremely quickly. Now, if you have a smaller collection, one great thing about this achievement is that with the introduction of the core set, we have access to 16 free legendaries to throw into the deck alongside the Altars of Fire. And everyone gets Mancrick for free, so even if you haven't opened or crafted any other legendaries thus far, there's still a decent chance you'll be able to pull this one off without ever having to rely on an opponent's card to be a legendary. If you don't have a copy of Altar of Fire, it is possible to draft it in Arena or get it in the in-control buckets in duels, but in both those modes, the probability of hitting 3 legendaries with an Altar of Fire is absurdly low. Unless you built your starting duels deck full of legendaries and you were lucky enough to get the Altar of Fire in one of your first buckets. By the way, I have no idea how, but when testing for this by building a deck completely full of core legendaries, we won 6 games straight and ended the run with a record of 9-3, but we never got an Altar of Fire offered in any of the buckets. Anyways, back to standard. If you have more than the base 17 legendaries from the core set and Mancrick, you can chuck all your legendaries and Altar of Fire together like we did for this Altar of Legendaries deck. While there is a deck code in the description for this one, just adjust it according to your collection. And remember that it may be easier to complete this in Wild if there are any legendaries from the Classic set or others that you haven't disenchanted yet. Good luck sacrificing all your legendaries. Next up, we have Shadow of a Shadow. This one isn't just limited to shadow spells, but they specifically have to be Warlock shadow spells, though Warlock dual class shadow spells do count. Tamsin Roam makes this one a lot easier to complete quickly, as you can often pair 2 shadow spells with her on the turn you play her, and when the stars align, she might just survive on board for you to follow up a turn later with another shadow spell or 2 for even more progress towards this one. But if you don't have Tamsin, don't worry. Raise Dead and Ritual of Doom in Standard, as well as Forbidden Ritual and Sacrificial Pact in Wild, are all ways to get progress towards this one without pulling off any crazy tricks. But if you're looking for crazy tricks, just wait till we get to the Priest decks after introducing these Warlock decks. Now, if you do have Tamsin, one experiment we ran early on in an attempt to complete this one quickly was using this Tamsin Zoo Warlock. Not only can you get ridiculous value from Tamsin with Hand of Gul'dan and Demonic Studies, but Raise Dead can sometimes bring her back for a second chance, and Raise Dead is a zero-cost shadow spell itself. However, one reason you may not choose this deck is that the Wicked Whispers end up discarding its zero-cost copy when you cast it with Tamsin Roam, so you don't actually get to play the zero-cost copy of Wicked Whispers. Now, if you're looking for a steadier deck to burn through the shadows, this Tamsin Roam Control Warlock proved to be decently effective at getting progress towards this achievement, as we often did get 2 or 3 zero-mana spells with Tamsin Roam per game, and Raise Dead occasionally brought her back, all while allowing us to decimate aggro decks with a ridiculous amount of Warlock Shadow control spells. Of course, if you're looking for something totally wacky and fun to get progress towards this, one of our viewers came up with this Tamsin Shadow Chaos deck. It's a deck of Chaos deck with a fair number of cheap shadow spells to buy time until we can start dropping bigger threats or play Deck of Chaos, and shock the opponent with 4 mana 9/12 dragons or a 1 mana 5/1 Burning Blade Acolyte. It's crazy fun, but craft at your own discretion. Now, the most efficient method we found for getting progress towards this was in Wild with a combo deck from Mark McKazy. His Tamsin Dark Bombs combo deck allows you to deal 30 damage in a single turn while playing 8 zero-cost shadow spells by discounting the following cards with a single tick from Emperor Therissian: Tamsin Rome, Plague of Flames, 2 Dark Bombs, Prince Taldaram, and a Carnivorous Cube. On the combo turn, you play Tamsin Rome, eat her with Carnivorous Cube, copy the cube with Prince Taldaram, and kill everything with Plague of Flames. You'll end up with 4 copies of Tamsin Rome, which will all give you a 0 mana copy of the 1 mana Dark Bombs you play, giving you 8 spells towards the achievement and 30 damage on the opponent. You might think this is a pretty complicated combo to pull together and play consistently, but our record with the deck was 10 wins and 7 losses. Unfortunately, not all the wins were full combos, so it did take a few more games to complete this one. But on average, we played more zero-cost shadow spells per hour with this than any of the other decks. A couple things to note on this one: you don't want your Dark Bombs discounted twice by Tharisin, as you won't get copies back from Tamsin then. And the same thing applies if your opponent casts Celestial Alignment, as you can see here when we actually completed the achievement. Now, shifting directions. While I wouldn't count on consistently discounting Soulshear and Demon Hunter to 0 mana with Skull of Gul'dan, Priest has a number of ways to generate additional copies of Raise Dead and Hysteria, and it's not difficult to discount Hysteria to 0 mana when you're playing Nazmani Bloodweaver. This Rally Priest from HS Replay gave us plenty of opportunities to play extra Raised Deads and 0 mana Hysterias, and kept the game interesting as we generated absurd amounts of extra cheap spells. And if you want to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, you could get progress towards the next achievement we'll cover as you're doing this one by swapping the Thrive in the Shadows out for a couple copies of Mad Summoner and dive into Wild with this Rally to Summoner deck. The Imps make the Raise Dead pool much worse, but they will get you additional progress towards the What's Better Than Two Imps achievement. Needless to say, there are quite a few ways you can approach this one, so have fun chasing your shadow spells. And last but not least, we have What's Better Than Two Imps. The first thing I thought when I saw this is, now we have an excuse to play far too many games with Niru Fireblade. And indeed, if you can actually play him and survive a few turns, you will get some nice progress towards this achievement. However, 250 imps is a lot for a really slow and rather low win rate card to be the driving force. Fortunately, there are lots of other ways to summon tons of imps. We already referred to him in the last achievement, and he made an appearance in one of the decks for the Rancor Warrior achievement, but Mad Summoner in Wild is probably the most efficient card to pull off this achievement, and he's only a rare quality card if you're missing him. But if you want to go even cheaper, Flame Imp and Fiendish Circle are free ways to get progress towards this, and Imp Swarm can get you a few extra imps later in the game. Quite a few other cards will summon imps as their death rattle or part of their effect, so while the quantity may seem overwhelming, there are quite a few ways to burn through this achievement. Although there are a number of ways to summon imps in Standard at the moment, for cheap decks, only Flame Imp is making the cut in Zoo. However, if you don't mind taking a bit of a cut to your win rate to get progress towards the achievement, this Zoo of Imps deck includes Imp Swarm and Fiendish Circle as additional token generators, which are quite frightening when buffed by Wicked Whispers. And if you want to lean towards a meme direction, dropping the Demonic Studies for a Niru Fireblade will provide a different kind of burn deck for you to experiment with, while providing unexpected extra pressure at the end against control decks. But if you want to dive into the memes, you might try out this Delete Their Dreams deck with Niru Fireblade from HS Replay. It's a bit more refined than the deck we highlighted almost immediately after the expansion came out, though if you'd like to see that deck in action, there's a link up above you can check out. This deck won't be the fastest at completing the achievement, but it should be fun. If you do decide to plunge into Wild, the Rally to Summoner deck we mentioned at the end of the previous achievement is really only recommended if you're trying to do the 0-cost shadow spells and this achievement at the same time. But this Mad Academic Mill Rogue was a swift way to get to Mad Summoner consistently, with a particularly pleasant upside of demolishing Res Priest's Res pool as we help them burn through a few of their bigger cards. It was nice that we could help them as they play such a fair and balanced deck. I think I laughed maniacally one too many times. But still, so many imps. Have fun. And that's a wrap. If you found this helpful, drop a like. It'll help others find this video because the algorithm demands more souls. Yeah, it scares me too. Anyways, we'll be doing more guides for the rest of the Forged in the Barrens achievements, so check back soon, or subscribe, because we make exciting content. If you have any questions or suggestions, let me know in the comments. And if watching content live is your thing, check out our stream at twitch.tv/SSAlchemist. We currently stream on Saturdays and Sundays. And remember, you're awesome. Thank you for watching, and have an awesome day.
Strength and honor. This is who we are.